China's biggest growth was between 2010 and 2014. Okay,
Right.
And this was the time when both capital and technology innovation matured. The iPhone was invented in 2007. By the time WeChat and Alipay were fully formed and WeChat Pay started was 2010. And you know, this short window of 2010 to 2014, there was no government. Okay, the government was like very supportive of the structures of the innovations that were taking place, and they were like looking at it and just wow, this is huge, and government was only starting to form its response to these huge technologies. Just about that period, and that was also the period that China, for the first time, had large corporations that were not state-owned enterprises. Okay, the listing of Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and so on. That's a totally new phenomenon in China. Okay, and then 2014, the state started getting its act together and starting to put together even just the idea of governance, because a lot of governance in China was at the provincial level. Today in finance, for example, they have a super committee that sits at the state council that coordinates all of the financial institutions and innovations and so on. Okay, but they're also taking too structured an approach that it risks becoming brittle, meaning that having one committee at the national level running it, can't deal with everything all at once. So the thing is that this thing about pragmatism actually only applies when a state is in its early formative entrepreneurial stage. When the state gets organized, it loses the pragmatism. Okay, for many things in the US, they've lost the pragmatism. Okay, like payments, for example, the US is the worst country, the least developed payments infrastructure because it's super well regulated. You talk about pragmatic, they're very pragmatic. They're so pragmatic that they don't want innovation. And they don't see a need for innovation. Also, because that's why I say knowledge and capital, put them alongside each other and then assess how the field evolves. So China looks pragmatic because you see so much of the innovations around you, and you think, wow, this is a great country. When you put it in a time series, you realize which period it happened, what is the period that we are going through right now, and then the outcome of that into the future. So like India, for example, had incredibly competent, not say incredibly corrupt government, but it had its tentacles in every part of society, that it stifled, creativity, it stifled capital, it stifled innovation and entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is coming through in India because it's breaking through the state and trying to, make breakthroughs in technology that the state has no control over. The reason IT became an important pillar of Indian economy was because the state didn't know how to control IT 30 years ago, right? But they controlled everything else: the oil and gas industry, the airline industry, the
supermarkets,
and everything else. Sorry?
The supermarkets, yeah.
The supermarket, the food supply chain, and they erred on the side of the small farmer, and therefore you don't have industrial. 80% of perishable food perishes in India. So the productivity is so bad that food prices can come down if they only kept a lot more of the perishable food, accessible to the customer. Now, but then when you apply capital, the country starts to look different, and the promise of the country looks different. And you see this also in the aerospace industry, right? Why is China looking so good on the aerospace side? Because they deploy capital, and that's a state deployment of capital. It's not from foreign investors. It's the state saying that this is the area that we want to be good at. So the areas where the state has deployed capital, they grow incredibly. And India, does do a few, launches of satellites cheaply. But when you put more capital into it, Elon Musk is able to do it better than India, right? And cheaper than India as well. So the ability to deploy capital to technology is the other element that we need to look at. And capital is flowing. It's looking around the world for the best returns. And right now, it's not a zero-sum game for China anymore. It's been distributed around to India, to Southeast Asia, and I see a little bit taking place in Africa. And then you need to follow the money to see where the next breakthrough will come from.